So for the first round, we're on the draw, and this is a pretty reasonable hand. We have uh, basically all three of our colors. We can play 2-drop, 3-drop. We have a couple removal spells. Basically, what more can you ask for? So we keep this. Looks like we're probably up against blue-black control or Sultai. Yep, Sultai Energy. And we have the spray. Since they didn't have first turn attune, we could kill their cub, so we'll go ahead and do that. Now we can afford to tap out and play our creature, play another creature. We don't offer the trade, but here, let me stop it. So the reason that we made that play where we exerted and attacked is because they have a single mana up, which means they could have Blossoming Defense, and I'm trying to bait them into blocking the Glorybound Initiate and then playing Blossoming Defense to try to make their Constrictor a 4/5, because then in response we could Lightning Strike it. And even though that means our creature would be exerted, not on tap next turn, and we would not gain the 4 life since there's no blocker anymore for when damage is dealt, that's still a good trade for us. It's a 2-for-1. We'd be killing their Constrictor and their Blossoming Defense, trading both of those cards for our Lightning Strike. And so we'd still have our Glory Bond Initiate. That's why we made that attack. And they didn't fall for it. They just took the damage. Probably wise decision. So then we just tap out and play Campbell. I thought about Lightning Striking the Constrictor, because next turn they could go land Walking Ballista for 3 counters because of the Constrictor. Otherwise it'd be 2 counters. But I was thinking, well, if they did that, I would still probably rather kill the Walking Ballista, even though they could still kill the Initiate with the Ballista, and they'd be 2-for-1ing us right back. But it's just like, well, I mean, we could just tap out and play Campbell here, and, you know, then if they play Hostage Taker, we then still have the Lightning Strike for the Hostage Taker, something like that. So it just felt like just playing the Campbell was better there. But the important play there was trying to bait them into the play of block, Blossoming Defense, get Lightning Struck. So let's see, what do? They do have the untapped land, but they don't have the Walking Ballista. So they play a Tune, get a land. We draw Lannery Storm, that's good. Now here is where I think I made a mistake. So I should have played the mountain pre-combat so that then I have land, because I got the treasure when I attack. So then I have land and treasure, which means I still am doing the same thing that I did last turn, where I could play the Lightning Strike, where if they go block one of our creatures, play Blossoming Defense, we can get them in response. So in terms of what they would play around, the treasure allows us to gives us access to something like Fatal Push, which, given the mana that we've shown them, that's a very reasonable card for us to have. So I think if they don't play around Lightning Strike, they're probably not going to play around Fatal Push, or if the reverse. If they don't play around Fatal Push because of the treasure, having a land so that they play around Lightning Strike, they're probably not going to do that either. So I should have done that, I think, but it ends up we kind of get punished, but it ends up working out for just fine anyway. So they do the play that I was saying we could have played around. So then we just play the land post combat. Sure, take it. And then they play Rogue Refiner, which now we're kind of in this situation where they're trying to race, but they're pretty far behind in the race because we gained the 4 off the Initiate and then the 2 off the Campbell. So we're up 26-10. Now, Rogue Refiner is a good blocker for Captain Lannery Storm. So what they're probably thinking they're going to do is they're just going to block Lannery Storm, trade, and take 4, and we gain 4 again, so then it's 30-6, but now they can start untapping and stabilizing. So we want to disrupt that. So we have a pretty good draw step here. Now what we do, we attack, because we're about to get our second treasure, which gives us 2, 4, 6, access to 7 mana. The only card that they could have in this situation is another Blossoming Defense. I mean, that could have like Unsummon, but realistically, this deck doesn't play Unsummon. But it does have 4 Blossoming Defense, and they've only used 1. So they have 3 cards in hand, and we know that there's very likely 3 Blossoming Defenses left in their 75, so there's a very good chance that they have another one in hand. So we attack. The reason we didn't use one of our removal spells pre-combat is because we want to get this treasure, and then here, let me show you what we do. So we use the cast out, and if that resolves, which it does, so the plan was if it resolves, then great. We just sack the treasures and lightning strike the opponent, and the two treasures give Captain Lannery Storm +2, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 10 damage. That's lethal. If it doesn't resolve, if they Blossoming Defense in response to the cast out, then we lightning strike the Rogue Refiner in response by sacking the two treasures. Then the opponent goes to 3, and they lose their Refiner and their Blossoming Defense. And we didn't exert the Glory Bound because it's still exactly lethal this way with the strike. And then next turn we'd get to exert it, and they'd be chump blocking with their Winding Constrictor, or we're forcing them to draw something good on their draw step. But yeah, basically we're like, okay, if the cast out resolves, we win the game with the strike. If it doesn't resolve, it's because they Blossoming Defense in response. So then we strike in response. So then we still put them down to 3 life, which means both creatures are lethal next turn, and they need to basically do something drastic. So that's why we played it that way. So that was game 1. So now game 2. So the way we sideboard against Sultai, I wrote a little deck guide, sideboard guide in the written portion of the article. But we basically want to bring in the Ixalan's bindings, the 4th copy of Tecatli, 4th Harsh Mentor, and then we want to take out the Magma Sprays and the Campbells, because those are kind of our weakest cards. Spray does some work on the draw, like if they play turn 2 Glint Sleeve Siphoner, or if they don't have a first turn Attune and they play second turn Cub, we can kill that. But we're bringing in like a Braid and more removal spells, so we're not super worried about our runaway Cub, and we're fine with just lightning striking their Glint Sleeve if that's what they do on turn 2. But we really want all of our removal spells to kill any of their creatures, which if we take out the sprays, that is the case. So we have 5 2-mana instant speed removal spells that kill basically any creature in their deck. And then we have 3 and 4-mana removal spells that also exile any creature in their deck. So that's kind of where we're aiming at. We don't want to be flooded with removal spells. We want to have our own threats as well. So we just wanted to take out our weakest removal spell, basically. So then this is a pretty clear keep. On the draw, we don't have a lot of early interaction, but that's okay. We have a good turn 2 creature and a good turn 3 creature, and if we're too far on the back foot, we have a removal spell. So we keep this, and then it does a pretty good draw. Gives us some late game power. So they play their good creature on turn 2. We play our good creature on turn 2. It's just kind of off to the races. We're like, all right, well, off to the races, sure. Captain Lannery's good at that. And then they play the Rogue Refiner. Sure, don't have our Tecatli. Take some damage. All right. And now this turn, we didn't yet have enough to... We couldn't empty our hand for Hazoret. So basically, we're trying to set up a turn where next turn, hopefully we could play Hazoret. If not, we start playing defense the following turn. Or even this turn, we could do a combination of offense and defense. But at this point, we're kind of, even though we're not really far ahead in the race, given that we have Hazoret and these removal spells in hand, it feels like we're in a good position to race. So basically, we attack, we get our treasure, and now mid-combat, we want to deal with this Rogue Refiner. Now this turn is a lot of efficiency of mana, so we could have just played like, okay, I'll play Thopter Arrest on your Rogue Refiner and I'll attack, and then I'll play, Harsh Mentor post-combat. Well, we missed a point of damage because there's no way, I guess we could sack a treasure first, so we wouldn't actually miss any damage. But doing it this way, we basically get to use our cast out and Harsh Mentor instead of Thopter Arrest and Harsh Mentor. It's similar, but then next turn, if we use a removal spell, it'll cost us 1 more. So here we get to sack both the treasures. So we definitely get the damage in this turn, and we can play the Harsh Mentor. They kill the Harsh Mentor with Fatal Push, and they play a Glint-Sleeve Siphoner. Now at this point, they're pretty far behind. So we attack with the Captain Lannery Storm and the Metallic Mimic. We're threatening 6 points of damage, so they kind of have to block with their Siphoner, and they're going to block the Mimic because that'll be a trade, and the Captain Lannery Storm is a 3/3, so they can't trade with that. So we're basically thinking we're just going to get this damage in. We play the Mimic pre-combat because, again, they kind of have to trade here. I mean, if they go to 2, what are they trying to do? Use energy to draw a card? All right, great, you go to 1. Like, I mean, sure, we're okay with that if they want to do that too. So they're almost certainly going to trade here. So if they're going to trade, we want to get the extra counter on our Mimic. So that's why we did that. They do trade. Now they play a Rogue Refiner, not super helpful. We jam Hazoret, smash them. They can block Hazoret, and they still take lethal. So that game, there was the one turn where we cast out and Harsh Mentor instead of Thopter Arrest and Harsh Mentor, which might have been wrong, but it was like pretty close. I think that this is just fine the way we did it. But yeah, this is basically, they played their creatures, we played our creatures, we killed their creatures, they tried to kill our creatures, then we played Hazoret and we just smashed them in the face and killed them, and they still had 5 cards in hand. So, I mean, we drew an extra land than they did, so they were a little tighter with their mana. But this is the kind of thing where they're sort of dirtling. They play this Rogue Refiner and draw a card, and we're like, okay, well, we're just trying to get your life total down to 0. We're playing cards like Captain Lannery Storm and Hazoret, and so we're using our removal spells just to clear out your blockers. Whereas they're trying to like gum up the board and gain value and then set up a Glint-Sleeve Siphoner to draw some cards, and we're just like, nah, we're just going to kill you. So we had some pretty decent draws this match, but I think this is generally how this matchup is supposed to play out. On the draw, I think that we want everything this way. If let's say they won this game and we went on the play for game 3, I would consider siding in the red cards. So if they're on the play, then their Walking Ballista is going to be good no matter what. But if they're on the draw, then their Walking Ballista is not that good. At least not nearly as effective against like our Mimics and our what's it called? The Glorybound Initiate. So we can I think go into a slower build on the play, because Chandra is especially effective there. Glorybringer is really good against them. Glorybringer is kind of a liability though too, because if they Harsh Mentor it and are able to cast it against us, it's like their best card. So I just prefer leaving the build this way, because as you can see, like things do kind of play out in our favor. They have to use the removal spells on all our creatures, and like they just don't have enough removal spells to deal with our stuff, and we have enough to deal with their stuff. So I think that it just favors us. So that's Sultai.